There we go. Sorry about that. I wasn't sure if my connection went out. There still might be some issues as we try to get back to normal here in this part of Mexico. I got some of my Wi-Fi fixed. It's a long story. You guys don't want to hear it. Hopefully, I won't have to do the show on location tomorrow. But allegedly, there's another Santa Ana windstorm coming tomorrow. So, good times. Very good times. And sadly, Mac won't be here tonight. He has missed like a month. Life just biting him in the ass. So, it is what it is. But since he's not going to be here, the phone lines will be open. I want to hear what you guys have to say about today's conversation. Also, just to let you guys know, Crisis Papers is out. It is free for patrons. If you do enjoy what we do on the main show, TIR, and you want to support that, and you don't want to be a patron, you don't want to be bogged down by the tyranny of monthly payments, I get it. I've canceled so many things over the last 2 years, 3 years. I get it. Wherever you're watching or listening to this show, there's links in the description. You, too, can read the Crisis Papers. That being said, NFL Championship weekend is upon us. And then there were 4. As the NFL season winds down, we find ourselves with 4 teams left standing, some of which we could have predicted at the start of the year. The Philadelphia Eagles, fresh off one of their most disappointing seasons in recent memory, have stunned critics. Many believed head coach Nick Sirianni was on the proverbial hot seat, and the addition of Saquon Barkley was dismissed as too little too late. Yet here we are, powered by Barkley's dynamic play and a solid defense, returning to the NFC Championships as the number 2 seed. I'm sure Dr. Claw has some words about Philly. Meanwhile, the Washington Commanders, I also want you to know it's very hard for me to write Commanders. I've been saying Redskins for so long that, but I got it right. Meanwhile, the Washington Commanders have ended a 2-decade-long drought by making it back to the NFC title game, a team long plagued by poor draft picks, turbulent ownership, and coaching instability has finally turned a corner. The number 2 pick in the NFL draft gave them not just a franchise quarterback, but also a sense of hope, a rare commodity for Commanders fans. NFC Offensive Rookie of the Year frontrunner Jaden Daniels has exceeded expectations, even amid concerns about his slender build. While his style memories of another electric number 2 pick by the Washington Commanders, Robert Griffin III, Daniels has shown resilience, shaking off minor injuries to deliver one of the most exciting rookie campaigns under center in recent history. In my lifetime of watching football, and I say I started seriously watching football, like nerd watching it, like keeping my own stat sheet nerd watching it, since I was 9. So almost 40 years. I can't think of a better rookie season. Maybe Eric Dickerson had a better rookie season when it came to just coming in league and breaking insane records. Because Dickerson rushed for like 1,800 his rookie season. That's insane. It's insane. It was insane then. It's insane now. What Daniels has done, not necessarily statistically, but on the field, a certain amount of poise. And we can talk about that if you guys want to get into, VR training and things like that. That's fine. We can talk about that as far as kind of putting him ahead of the curve, if you will. I do think the system they run against certain defenses is just incredibly hard to beat. Against the Lions, my God, that stacked 3 wide receiver set running out of it. It was dangerous. But could he make history by becoming the first rookie quarterback to lead his team to the Super Bowl? on the AFC side. A clash between the Bills and the Chiefs feels like destiny. Kansas City's 15-win season has been a masterclass in late-game heroics, though critics note the team has benefited from some favorable officiating. Regardless, Travis Kelce is healthy and dominating, and Patrick Mahomes continues to redefine what's possible at quarterback. I hate to admit that. I am not rooting for the Chiefs. I will be rooting for the Bills. I would love to see Von Miller go back to the Super Bowl and possibly win a title with the Bills. For Von Miller to be able to say that he was on, oh no, I guess the Rams had won a championship before he got there, but not in LA. 3 different Super Bowl teams really speaks to his ability, even at a football advanced age. I don't even think he's that old as a man, but in football years, they age you like a dog. But he still looks really good. I mean, watching him pick up that fumble against against Lamar Jackson, and to see Lamar Jackson, it feels like, I don't know if you guys feel the same way about Lamar Jackson. He feels like one of those quarterbacks, kind of like Dan Marino, where he just doesn't trust the team. I don't think he trusts the team. I don't think he trusts anybody. And it's fair to think that way, because since you've been there, everything is on your shoulders. If the team succeeds, it's because you're the greatest dual threat quarterback that's ever been a dual threat quarterback. If the team does not play well, regardless of what facet is failing, it's your fault, because you don't understand the position. You're just not there yet still, even though your statistics say something different. Can he get over that? I don't know. I don't know if he gets over it in Baltimore. I don't know. I asked this question last week because I don't think it can happen. And maybe you guys feel differently. The phone lines are open. You can call in and tell me. But I don't know if you cannot win a Super Bowl and play with one team for your entire career. I don't know if you cannot go to a Super Bowl and play with one team for your entire career. And I'll point to someone like Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers played at a high level for the majority of his NFL career. And at a certain point, people felt like, well, he's just not going to be able to do it. He can't get us to the next level. And then you become the guy that you're the piece to the puzzle that's going to get them over the top. And then you never become the right piece of the puzzle. And then you kind of end your career in a little bit of obscurity, which to me is always a little bit sad. I guess Matt Ryan, did he play his entire career with the Falcons? I feel like he had one season somewhere else. I could be wrong. And I don't remember how many years he actually played, but he played a good amount of time. But when you think about the quarterbacks from 2 eras prior, the 80s guys, the guys that come out in the early 80s, and even the 70s guys, you could play your entire career. Like a guy like Dan Fouts played his entire career with the Chargers, never going to a Super Bowl. They were forever in the playoffs. They were forever a good team. He also put up kind of astronomical numbers for an era that was really run first. I don't know if you can do that anymore in this NFL that suffers from the plague of really intense sports betting and around the clock coverage that revolves around sports betting, which also changes the way people look at positions and statistics greatly. There's a kind of a bigger emphasis placed on statistics as far as I'm concerned. But do the Bills have what it takes to finally overcome their perennial rivals? Finally, as college football crowns its champion, we reflect on a surprisingly subdued championship game. Not the game itself, mind you. The game itself was rather exciting. 2 teams that none of us picked to be in the final game. Mac is a diehard Ohio State fan, and he didn't think Ohio State was going to be there, especially after their end of the year loss. He felt as if Ryan Day should be gone. Jettison the coach. I haven't talked to him about this because I wanted to talk to him about this on air to get like a fresh how he felt about it, me confronting him with that. Maybe next week, we'll see. But I do think, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, that the college football postseason stretched a little too long. Is the NCAA following the NBA's lead in sacrificing intensity for ratings? I think it's a discussion worth having. I think the NBA postseason is entirely too long. It's like a half of a season, at least a third of a season. Jesus Christ. Just do it like baseball. I felt like the baseball World Series was the baseball playoffs for the most part, maybe because so much of it took place in Southern California and there was an excitement, a tangible excitement in the air down here because there's so many LA natives that live here and LA people that were displaced to San Diego that have been displaced here. So there's like San Diego people that are fans here. So there was a lot of that going on where sometimes I felt like the baseball games were more exciting to watch than some of the football games at the bar, which is something I haven't said ever. But no, I can't remember ever saying that. Maybe when the Giants were. I feel like when the Barry Bonds season, where the Giants went to the World Series and fucking choked against the Angels. That was the last time I've been that excited about baseball. And I'm a Giants fan. Even when they were winning World Series, it wasn't exciting as that year. And because Barry Bonds is such a enigma. But as I grab my beverage, how do you guys feel about that? Do you think the college football season took a little too long? They spread it out too long? Is college football, is that season a little too long? Do they start too early for you with the week 0 thing? Bowl season felt very anticlimactic. January 1st, when I was in high school, I can't speak for you guys. When I was in high school, a good friend of mine would cook. And we would have like, sometimes he'd grill some stuff, and he's Japanese, so he make like cool Japanese shit. And he'd grill some meat and stuff, and we would just watch bowl games. We'd go to Ryan's house and just watch football all day, talk shit about the games we saw. Because January 1st was the big day. You watched all the other games at home. Holiday Bowl, which I think is for years it was a really exciting game. But that's when all the good games were the kind of the championship games are going to be. And then once they got into the whole computer bullshit and they were moving the championship game later, and it's just, I don't know, it lost something for me. Maybe I'm a traditionalist. I don't know. Nuriak, I look down, he says, I honestly hate college football. Why do you hate college football? I never understand people that watch pro football and hate college football. Like, how do you do that? Like, what do you hate about college football? I could imagine if all you ever watched was Miami beating the shit out of Cal on a loop over and over again. You're like, nah, the level of competition just isn't there. But there were some great games this year. There were some big upsets. The NIL has really, as much as I don't like a lot of aspects of it, it's just too unregulated. And these kids are just getting fucked. So-and-so is going to make $1 million. When you see it, is it really $1 million? I don't know. But, and also I think the development's just not there. But man, there's been some exciting ass games at the college level. The championship game. That was exciting to the last second. What more can you want? For years, we've watched blowout Super Bowls, blowout national championship games. Now we're getting overtime Super Bowls, last second field goal college championship games. And you're like, I don't like college. Fucking don't like college for? You kind of get a good ass game every week. You're going to see you got a really good chance of seeing a good upset. I don't know what you don't like about it. Do you just not like the colors? Are you against higher education altogether? You can't do that bullshit that people used to do. Oh, they don't pay the kids. These motherfuckers are getting paid-ish. So what don't you like? Oh, who gives a shit? Also, the concept of college sports being a free talent pool for the pros is a bit BS. Who's free for who? I don't understand. Someone's paying, especially now. They've been paying. They always paid. So shut up. Always paid. Now these guys can just admit they always got paid, which is kind of funny. Virtuous says, Jason, there's too many damn teams. I ain't got time for all that. That's how I feel about college basketball. There's just too many teams. And when people act like they have their brackets out, I'm like, you really fucking know what Northwestern State Tech A&T, a school population of 4,000 in the bowels of Louisiana, has for a basketball team? I don't believe you. And if you do know about that team, you are a degenerate gambler and you need help. Real help. Probably medication. Don't. College basketball, the final, the road is a 66 now? Isn't it different? Aren't they going full? I forget. I forget because there's so many fucking teams in that tournament. And is college football going to go a similar route? They learned, hey, 16 teams, it kind of worked out. I think Mac said it right when the whole thing was announced. 16 teams, there's 16 conferences. A conference champion from every team goes to the playoffs. None of this seeding shit because it's BS. I agree with that. I think he's 100,000,000% right, as fucking usual. Kush looks says you may need help, better help. My neighbor came here the other day because the wind was insane and the power was out. This was right before I left for Tijuana, and he was going to try to help me with some of the power stuff. And he was asking me about the show, and he was like, "So you got some sponsors now?" And I was like, "No." And I guess I said no in a kind of fuck no face mode, and I thought it was just a normal no because I'm not opposed to sponsors. Like people always say, would you blah 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 blah? It's like, I'm sure. Let them talk to me first. I don't know. I'm poor, so I'll listen about anything. And what's the craziest thing a sponsor wants to pitch on a leftist podcast, right? I don't know. Some like Blinkist, like who the fuck is gonna? But like the BetterHelp shit, it's like, oof. I just can't do that with a straight face. Like, hey, are you feeling down? There's an app for that. Ish. But now I'm looking at your guys' comments. Jason likes the college sports for the long-butted cheerleaders. No, I don't, because they're children. And I'm not a pedophile. I'm a dad. Now, if their moms came out there, it's a different story. I'd watch that. But no. YMCA mile. Jason saying this while constantly turning down the Black Israelites at the International House of Pancakes. For some reason, you people have triggered Black Israelite stuff in my Instagram feed. So that's been some crazy shit. I didn't know they make propaganda videos about how their women are supposed to behave. And woof. It was a rough watch. A rough watch indeed. But a part of me wants to share some of those videos. Another part of me is like, I could be pushing it with these people. Nuri says, I just noticed the chat censored me for telling you to shut the fuck up. Look, I didn't censor you, and our moderator extraordinaire, Sune, does not work the sports show. So YouTube itself has censored you. YouTube is a censoring whore. I do have to admit that the shit I'm going through with YouTube right now, you people have no idea, and it's fucking a nightmare. Them not getting paid while they make stupid money for their colleges. I mean, they've been getting paid for a long time. I don't know why you guys act like they haven't. Their parents have been getting all kinds of shit. You think just every college student has gold chains? I mean, do you remember the 80s? Do you guys just forget the 80s existed? Everybody forgot? Seen all these motherfuckers with these up from poverty stories? YouTube hates free speech. YouTube hates so much shit. Free speech might be one of those things it hates, but it does hate a lot of stuff. But I do want to hear what you guys have to say. I'm going to go turn the phone on because, like I have said last week when I did this, my phone serves many purposes, and one of which is the screen in which I read the opening monologue. And, of course, it's also the phone that you guys call in on. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to play this interlude music while I do that. Okay, we are back. Now, phone number's on the screen. Area code 510-319-1899. Again, that's area code 510-319-1899. Yeah, I'm looking down at the number because I always forget it. And I picked this number, and I still forget the number. That's ridiculous. Damn, how many messages did you guys leave while I was gone? That is fucking hilarious. This is what you hear when you lose hearts of iron to the Nazis. That's mean. Sad game lost music. Did Jason just join the Village People? Did your mom join the Village People? Dare you? No. Would the Village People be wearing a sick ass death metal Selena shirt like this? Probably fucking not. To hell with you. The long button has to be attached to a mom as a requirement. Maybe. It would help. It would help. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so, but it would help. Who do you guys have in the NFC Championship game? Do you guys think, like, where the fuck is Dr. Claw right now? You can't be watching basketball right now, Dr. Claw, because you might have a gambling problem. If you're watching basketball right now and you're not gambling, then you are either a legitimate fan or you have something on the game. Because I can't even get into basketball right now, dude. Sorry. Not with the, NFC Championship game coming up. Dr. Claw, I have to know, can Jalen Hurts return to the Super Bowl? Can he? Can he? This is I almost said something that you guys are going to make fun of me, and I'm going to say it anyway. Can he ride Saquon Barkley all the way to the big dance? Ken says Washington. So can you think, hey, all chaps are assless. Remember that. The person that said assless chaps doesn't understand how they fucking work. They cover your legs while you're riding your motorcycle. So all chaps have a space where your butt would show. That's how they work. That's why dancers like them. It's not because they come with the ass part on. So stop saying assless chaps. They're just chaps. That's how they work. It is literally the design of the chap. My God. All the time with the assless chaps. Because one comedian said something about Prince 20 years ago. And everybody thought chaps had an ass. You know what else you're telling me? You guys are not badasses when you say that. This is a show full of badasses that ride fucking Harleys. Right? That's what I'm hoping. So back that up by knowing how chaps work. Like if you got a Harley and you have chaps, I'm not going to think, hey, why the fuck do you have assless chaps? I'll be like, oh, you ride in the cold. I get it. And Bass has no chaps. You would know if you wore fucking chaps, Tony. You don't ride a motorcycle. That's what you're telling me. You're safe. Do you have an SUV, Tony? You want to talk all this shit about me? Huh? Mr. SUV man? Long-butted bikers. Now that's something I've seen my fair share of growing up around Hell's Angels. And that is a story for another time. But yes. Geometry. Tony, I had a 1997 Geo Metro hatchback. I think it was the 3-cylinder, but it was automatic. The car got like, I don't know, 400 miles a gallon or some insane shit like that. But if you turned the AC on in that vehicle, it would damn near come to a screeching halt. And I remember I got pulled over for speeding on Highway 4 in the San Francisco Bay Area, in the stretch from Martinez to Concord. I can't remember where I was going at the time, but I do remember getting pulled over. And I remember the cop said you were speeding, and I laughed at him. I was like, I can't. He goes, well, the plane said you were speeding. I was like, the plane's a liar, because if I go too fast in this car, the wind blows and I think I'm going to fall off the highway. Because it says you were going 85 miles an hour. I was like, sir, this car doesn't go 85 miles an hour. So I know your pain, Tony. This is why you're so angry. I've been there. I've been there. You got a Geo Metro hatchback. You're telling the world that you are, you know, frugal, not flashy. But man, anytime there was any kind of breeze in that car, it would just blow over into another lane. And again, couldn't ride with the AC because the car would just be like, one or the other, brother. One or the other. Jason, officer, I will have you know that I'm riding with the ghost of Private Malone. Yeah, this is what it is. Yeah. Tony goes, I had a 95 3-cylinder, got 62 miles per gallon from Northwest Arkansas to Denver once. I wish I had that car driving to the Bay Area to see my family. Oh my God. My car does okay. I have an old Hyundai, very old Hyundai. Like people say, oh, why do you you don't have Bluetooth? I was like, Bluetooth? Man, if you don't shut the fuck up for you walking this old ass car. Lucky this bitch ain't got a tape deck. JC says, Harleys, this is more of a hipster crowd. Indians or Triumphs, more likely. Is that a hipster motorcycle? I was going to say Vespa. Jason on that. Is this hey, is this the Joey guy? Joey, is this you? Is this the dude? I hope if you're back, me and Mac apologize to you probably for a good 30 minutes because we don't want to see you go. You are a valued member of this show, as we have made a fictionalized account of your life to the point where we are sad when you don't show up. I figured Shawn Michaels had his way back in the day, would have wrestled in chaos and not much else. I just actually watched, before I started the show, I watched a documentary about wrestling. Oh, don't ask Joey how his wife is. Remember, we weren't going to talk about that. Joey Nichols. How the fuck does a Bay Area native choose a Denver freaking Broncos to root for? God damn, Joey. You act like I came in your house and just put my dick in your butter. Why the hostility? It's a long story, Joey, and I think I've told it before, maybe not on the main show, but it's long, boring story that no one cares to hear. But since no one's going to fucking call in, I will tell it. I will fucking tell it, and I'll tell the long, drawn out version where I take dramatic pauses. Oh, I'll do it. God damn it. Don't you dare make me. Why you guys keep bringing if you're viciously teased, hell, that's just TRS. That is TIR love. It is. It is. Ixnay on the I hope Joey's wife calls in just to yell at us, because that would be the greatest phone call that I've ever gotten. Even on the main show. That'd be the greatest phone call of all. Old Hyundai. Try my first ever vehicle, a 1980 Datsun pickup, driving from the Denver metro area to Southern California through the. Oh my God. Oh, if you've ever driven in the Rockies in the winter or like the fall in a shitty car, if you've ever driven on I-80 through Wyoming in a shitty car, if you can make it through, then you're legit battle tested. Legit battle tested. We would go on tour and not do smart people things like look at the weather in the cities we're driving through. Because that's what mildly intelligent people do. And we'd always have to start somewhere on the other side of the Rockies. It would never be like, oh, your first show is in Portland and then your next show is in Seattle. No, it'd always be like, oh, your first show is in Newton, Kansas. And then after that, it's a series of where the fuck is this city at drives. And I remember one year we left. So from the Bay, you take a freeway, the interstate called the I-80. And the I-80 goes from San Francisco to New York. And it goes through the worst parts of the country. I think the worst is maybe the 70 is worse, just because the 70 is so flat when you go through Kansas and western Colorado. Eastern Colorado, Western Colorado, I forget. Someone remind me. But I'll never forget, if you get through the Sierra Nevadas fine, like there's no snow when you're going there, then you can get through. Utah is going to be okay. And then if you get through Utah, you will have a time, unless it's the summer, getting through Wyoming. It's like the worst weather in the fucking nation is in Wyoming. My God. And it would always be these insane crosswinds, and there'd be a sign. As soon as you hit Wyoming, there's a sign and it says like, drivers be careful, winds of 80 miles an hour. You're like, there's winds that strong? And we were always in a shit car. We never had nice stuff. We rented physical cars and we stuffed so much gear. This was when it was a two-piece with the music you guys are making fun of. And so we stuffed all of our stuff in the car to the point where my seat was always like, if I was the passenger, I was kind of like this the whole time. And my ex is a very small Asian woman, so she was comfortable no matter what, and that was fine for her, but not for me. But yeah, the if you can drive through those fucking conditions, you're battle tested, dude. You're not afraid of anything, and you might know a thing or two about like changing a tire or not being alarmed at sound from your car. Make fun of all your music, Jason. That's fine. That's fine. A Datsun pickup. Oof. We never did that. I think I told you guys a little story tweaker van where this tweaker dude did tweaker shit to our van. And we took that 3 or 4 times around the country. In a row. It wasn't like we did it and then went home. It was like, in a row. Like we never stopped. Every time we'd get done with a cycle, or we thought we were done with a cycle, our booking agent would be like, oh, I have another show for you. And he just kept booking. It's like he was coked out or something. And he was just like, these motherfuckers go forever. I can go forever. And it was just like never ending. Like, God damn. I see why that woman left. I think that year just broke her. It definitely broke us. The van ended up dying. I don't know if I think I told this story before. The van ended up dying in outside of Bismarck, North Dakota, and we had AAA. That was like an investment for us that we thought was smart. We paid for the expensive AAA, which was like $100 a year or something. And we were stuck on the side of the road, and for hours, we were waiting for them. They were like, because they go, "Hey, we're calling you back because no one's around." It was a holiday. Oh God, it wasn't the 4th of July. It was some holiday. I can't remember, because I remember it was summertime. Had to have been summertime, or like right at the end of summer, because it was hot. And if you've ever been to North Dakota has like 2 months where the snow melts, and they call it bug season. Just bugs finally get to come out because it's not cold. So there's just bugs everywhere. It's not even that hot. It's like 84, 85 degrees, maybe 90, but there's just bugs everywhere. And for a couple hours, AAA was like, we're trying, and no one is able to come get you guys. We are so sorry. And after a few, maybe 2 or 3 hours, they go, "We've never had this happen." Because the guy goes, "I've never had this happen in my time working for AAA, but there is no one in the state that is willing to come get you guys." So we just felt like, and we were fighting. Oof. As you would think people would fight, right? You've been in a car with the same person for a little over 4.5 months. You've had varying degrees of success, right? You can't just, everything's just not cool at that level. One night, hella people show up. The next 5 nights, nobody's there. But it would be like this very exciting roller coaster that I can now look back on and say it's a very exciting roller coaster. Trauma-inducing roller coaster. But I remember there was once we had no money. We might have had enough money to get like halfway back home, and we were all the way in Tennessee, in Louisville, Tennessee. And they had double booked us on a night, and we got to the venue, and they were like, "No, you're not on the book thing," and I called a booking agent, and he confirmed, and blah blah blah. So they were like, "Fine, we'll let you guys play." And you never want to play when people say fine. It's gonna be really hard to win over the crowd at that point. And we were like, if we don't make any money tonight, we don't know how we're gonna get home. We don't have families that are gonna loan us money. So we just fucking, I remember looking over at her, and her looking over at me like, we just gotta go fucking full hog. And we just fucking, whatever we had left in our proverbial tanks, we definitely left it on the stage. And we made a fucking ton of money that night. Like, people just bought everything we had. It was really fucking cool. I remember she was just like in tears, because it was one of those things, like, we had no idea this was going to happen. And it was kind of an upward trajectory, and we were starting to make our way back at that point. And when the van died, it was really like, oh fuck. Like, we were actually mildly happy having a certain level of success. People want to do these interviews with us, and yeah. So the van died, and there was a really nice native family who we had met, who taught us quite a bit. I'm not going to sit here and say that I was well versed in my knowledge on Native American history, and they weren't like history buffs at all. They were just very, very regular people. They did not live on the res, but they were part of a punk scene that, because of the location, had a fair amount of native kids in it. And that was the last place we were at. We had crashed with them and kind of hung out with them for a few nights when we were in North Dakota. We played like two or three shows in North Dakota that run. And we were on our way to Wyoming, And we called our boy, and we're like, dude, we're stuck. We don't know what to do. This fucking van, blah blah blah. We got all this gear. At this point, we were touring with the PA system. We had this fucking massive PA we had put together because we were a two piece that had these backing tracks. And if a venue didn't have a good PA system, we felt our performance suffered. So we're like, fuck that. We're going to bring the loudest PA system we can fucking muster. And we're going to bring a stupid amount of amplification so we can just tear down walls. So that van was packed with stuff. Dude came with homies. They rescued us. And we were fighting. But not that fighting where you're yelling back and forth fighting, but that kind of fighting where you're not talking because you've made decisions in your mind. Where you're like, I'm done. And I think she was like, I'm done. So it was a very quiet ride back to his house. And he was like, we were like, if you can get the van back, and I think they ended up getting it towed. I think they had a friend and they towed it. We were like, you can have the van. Fucking, we can't do anything with it. And we can't tow it back to California. As a matter of fact, just take all our stuff. Because I don't want to see this person. And we're probably going to go our separate ways when we get home. And dude goes, I'll take the van. But I won't take your stuff. And we were like, no, take our, like, fuck it. We don't want it because this shit is stupid. Yada, yada, yada. And he goes, nope, I'm not going to take your stuff. And he went and told his mom. And his mom took us aside separately. And gave us both money. And these were not, were they living in a trailer? I don't think, it might not have been, I don't remember, but it wasn't a very large home. They didn't have a lot. And his mom had gave us the money that she was going to take to the casino. And we had bought train tickets back. We were going to take the train, which is a 3+ day journey back. And I didn't want to go back. I was like, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here in North Dakota. Fuck her. She go back to California. Fuck it all. I'll just start a new life here. And they were like, nope, you're not going to. You're going to go back with her. And you guys will figure it out. But I don't think you guys should break up. And I'm not going to take your stuff. And we were like, we can't take this entire PA system back. Hey, that's fine. I will hold it for as long as you need me to hold it for. I will hold it. As a matter of fact, I'll hold your van too. Don't trip. Just get back home. My mom gave you guys some dough, but you guys can't. You can't break up. So we're very active on social media at this time. So we posted a post. We're like, we're done. And then we started taking pictures of stuff and just put it on Craigslist. I was like, I'll put it on fucking Bismarck Craigslist. They can fucking buy that shit. So we took a train back. You guys still, I'm going to tell this story until you guys fucking call. We took a train back and didn't speak for 3 days to one another. And we turned our devices off. So we had no idea what anyone said. We felt that no one cared. So we put a post up. We're done. We're selling our gear. Here's a Craigslist link to the stuff if you guys want to buy it. And if you've ever been on an Amtrak train, they have a scenic car. And I went to the scenic car and just sat there for the whole trip. And a very large group of Amish people came on that car. I hung out with them for at least 2/3 of the ride. Learned quite a bit about Amish people. They had cell phones and texted. Very, very bougie car. It's free, Prester John. You don't pay for it. It's just the car where you can see stuff. Jason was like, the train cushions were uncomfortable, coarse, and unyielding. So we didn't speak, and as we got closer to Oakland, we were like, maybe we should see if someone can pick us up so we can get back to the warehouse. So we turned our phones on and got a hold of a friend of ours who is a very successful kind of country singer in the Bay, and she still lived at the studio at the time. She was like, "Oh, sure." That's another thing about the studio. A lot of musicians live there. Not everybody was all washed out. There were some rather successful people that were there. So she was coming to pick us up, and it had been a bit of the scuttlebutt that maybe Jason and Cindy were calling it quits and yada yada yada. So we turned our phones on, and then there's messages. Fuck are all these messages? And some people that dug our band that we had gotten to know started a GoFundMe or whatever the thing was at the time. Maybe it was Kickstarter. I don't remember. And they're like, help Jason and Cindy not break up. And we didn't. We were shocked at the outpouring of lovely messages people left for us. We had spoke to each other to like arrange a ride, and I think the 3.5-day journey had softened both of us on the idea of quitting. And while we were on this constant loop of going around the country, we had been writing music and recording it like wherever we could. So we had a bunch of songs that we felt was like ready to go. And we had just, I think we had just signed a deal with a small label out of Boise that I don't know if it exists anymore. So there were like things happening positive for us at the time, but we were just so, angry. And when your van breaks down for like the 15th time, you're just like, oh, maybe this wasn't in the cards for us. But we did make enough to go back, and we were able to book a tour back to North Dakota that I got to bring my daughter on. That was one of the most horrible and fun experiences of my life. Showing my daughter all the parts of the country that Black people never go to. There ain't no niggas vacationing in fucking Billings, Montana. You may get stuck there, but you're not just going there for shits and giggles because you want to see what a mine looks like. Jason got DEI'd by the Amish. The Amish are some of the nicest people you can ever hang around for hours on end. And they're rather insecure because people do look at them funny. And I get it. They kind of exist in their own little world. They have their own language, which I think is a derivative of German or some shit like that. But there's so many myths about them that people just think they understand all these people. Look, I'm not going to sit there and say I get it, but I will say this. I was sitting alone in a car, and an older, and she's obviously like married, talked to me. And then a bunch of other Amish people came over and talked to me. They were super, super nice. They were getting ready to go to San Francisco. So I was like telling her places to go and eat. And they were all excited to try some new food. Like, you watch these documentaries on Amish people, they're just these really rigid motherfuckers that don't know how to smile, beat the shit out of their kids. They make one hell of a rocking chair, and they make some very strange dolls. Very strange dolls. Jason should start a Hebrew Israelite style branch of the Amish. I wish you guys were there on that train ride, because it would have been a hoot if you guys could have been there. They make awesome baked. Yeah, their furniture is next level. Don't you guys wish you had Amish friends? You motherfuckers are getting all this IKEA bullshit, particle board ass furniture. I fucking show up in Amish land. They're like, oh, it's the black guy from the train. He was so nice. He told us the good places to go in San Francisco. Give him the best armoire we have. You guys aren't getting the same treatment because you're mean. I want the Amish version of IKEA. Oof. I wonder if I could have talked them into doing that if they would have been the ones to do that. Because the Amish IKEA, like once you found out the quality was so much better, game over, Sweden. Game over. Probably corrupted them with your milk frother ways. You guys are so mean. Can they have caffeine? I don't remember if they can have caffeine. But I was shocked at the phone thing. They weren't like newer phones. They were definitely really old phones. But they had phones because there was Amish. They had Amish friends to meet in San Francisco. And I'm like, where the fuck are these Amish in San Francisco? She's like, we're everywhere. It's like, whoa. You just found out Jason's a sublator that I wrote for sublation. I have. I write the stuff for sublation so regular people can read it. I don't know. You think I'm lying? But yeah, so we didn't break up. We released a record that is my favorite record we did. Got produced by this band called the Atlas Moth. It was really, really cool out of Chicago. If you're familiar with bands like Neurosis, you would probably dig them. This record, Clarity Amongst the Rubble, dark record, but it was a lot of fun. And we released another one after that. So we stayed together for 2 more records. JC says sublation is not regular people. Fuck no. Fuck no. Can we be honest? Since you guys aren't calling, can we be honest here for a second and admit that a lot of this lefty shit is not for regular people? Like at all. Like it's not for you. If you're a regular person that has never read Karl Marx or shit, even Upton Sinclair, it's not for you. If you don't know who Lacan is, it's not for you. If you don't understand why people like Slavoj Žižek, it's not for you. Not for you. Am I lying? Stop me if I'm lying. It's not for you. It's a closed off group of cool kids. Hey, what are you guys talking about? We're talking about organizing the proletariat. I think I'm the proletariat. Have you read? And then they throw you this scroll of a reading list. Oh, golly gee, I kind of underachieved in school, but I don't like the 1% of the. Just hush. Go over there to the lib corner. We're talking about proletariat. God. Is that how it feels? Does it feel like that to you, or is it just me? No. Joey Nichols. Lacan was a charlatan. Somebody break the glass containing the emergency contact from Mac. That's not how you guys feel. Is it just me? Sometimes I'm like, who is that for? Is that show for just your friends? Because if so, that's fine. Just say it's just for my friends. Matt can't save you now. I would tell you what Mac is doing. He's doing family stuff. Just know that. Tony said, you guys are still fucking with Mac about not liking rum. He's doing family stuff. The weather's really bad where he is, and some family stuff that he thought he had was going to do tomorrow. He has to do tonight, or he's doing tonight. I shouldn't say has to do. He's doing what every halfway decent dad would do. You guys are so mean. You don't think a lot of this lefty shit is like a closed off club that nobody can join? You don't think so? Because if you don't think so, I'm like, really? I got a bridge to sell you. You aren't your best self on raw. I would never drink raw milk, by the way. I told you guys about that. That's why white women are a no-no. Where's Dr. Claw with his long ass call in? I'm really sad right now. I assumed that for the sports show, considering how uncomfortable last night was with all that music playing in my ear, you have no idea how loud it was last night for me. You guys would want to call in and even just complain about having to hear all that reggaeton last night. Oh, this is a new person. Do you guys know this person? It's a closed off club that people don't even know exists. Ooh, that's mean. Dr. Claw, why are you not calling in? If you're not calling in, Dr. Claw, I have to assume that your burner phone is out of minutes. I would assume you were going to call in, Dr. Claw. I figured you'd have something to say about your Philadelphia Eagles. They do look, I think they are the favorites right now to win it all. This is, I can't predict anything with this season, Dr. Claw. And I would not be surprised if the Redskins win it all. I don't think they will, But if it happened, I'd be like, oh yeah, sure. This is just that kind of year. It's just that kind of year. I did watch more balloon pop videos, Coach Look. There were so many balloon pop videos in the chamber, if you will, for the show last night. But when the girl came by and kind of swept around my feet, I was like, oh, are they trying to kick me out? That place didn't close for like another hour. Joey Nichols says Eagles going to win it all with Hurts. I don't think they need Hurts. Joey, do you really think the Eagles, this Eagles team, and I'm asking you seriously, as a man we've made fun of on this show for a long time, do you think that the Eagles can or need Jalen Hurts to be the Jalen Hurts of a couple years ago when they went to the Super Bowl, where he had kind of an MVP caliber year? They just need Jalen Hurts to not make huge errors. They have extremely adequate wide receivers and probably the best run game in football. I say probably because I really do think the Ravens have the best run game in football. That's a tough beast to stop when everyone's running the ball on you. But the Redskins showed me in their dismantling of the Lions that college formation they're doing, that kind of stacked 3 receiver set, and Daniel's ability to not, if I don't see it, I'm just going to run. This is pretty standard for rookies, right? They give them a couple reads. They shut off a certain part of the field. But that 3 receiver set, they're running out of it. It had the Lions confused. Now, you can say it had the Lions confused because they were extremely deficient on the defensive side of the ball, losing, what was it, like 12 starters. Okay. And they were scoring a lot of points to compensate for the defensive loss. Okay. But the Lions defense looked pretty good against the Vikings, which I think the Vikings had I didn't like the way they were calling plays. Too many routes that took too long to develop. But my goodness. The receivers for the Redskins are better than you think. Their running game is a little better than you think. I mean, Jaden Daniels isn't really fitting balls in crazy windows. These receivers are pretty open. And he throws a very good deep ball. He threw a very good deep ball when he was in Arizona. They are going to be a matchup problem. Does Philly have the answer? I don't know. We'll see, because even when they throw screens on that stacked front, or those stacked wide receivers, they're getting 3-on-2 matchups, 3-on-1 matchups. So those receivers are just getting yak. They're fun to watch, man. Really, really fun to watch. Can that defense hold up against Philadelphia saying, all right, bet. You want to have some quick strike shit on us? Bet. We're just going to just chew clock all day long. All day. We're just going to run the ball 3rd and 8. 3rd and 11. We're just going to run the ball. Fuck it. Try to stop us. Saquon Barkley is running like a man possessed. It's been exciting to watch. There's a phone call. Is it Joey Nichols? Joey, can you please call in? Can you and the missus call in? Because also Mac and I have so many ideas of what your wife's to suck. And it would be hilarious if her voice did match up with the one we make fun of. Now we have a caller that is calling from a 510 area code. I am from a 510 area code. So already there's kinship. Calling from a 510 area code. Caller, what is your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Jason. I'm Mark, and I still have my 5 and dime number, but I moved back to LA in March of 2020. They say timing is everything.
Damn it.
But I lived in West Oakland for quite a while, so I imagine we had bumped into each other someplace.
Possibly. Rudy's, maybe. Pretty Lady, if you ever ate at Pretty Lady, I was definitely there a lot. Oh no, where did Mark go? Mark, where'd you go?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm Rudy's. I'm old, so the brain is slow. Chicken and waffles at the base of Broadway.
Yes.
Yep. Late at night. That would be my first guess.
Are you from Oakland?
No, I grew up in Whittier, hometown of Richard M. Nixon, but I lived in the Bay Area for over 30 years.
Oh, okay. So you're still a good man.
Well, I up and down. Depends.
So you want to talk leftist politics and NFL football? Which one first?
Well, I've been wanting to share this, but there's nobody I know cares. So I can't even watch a whole football game anymore. I'm old and my attention span is internet, compromised.
Yes.
So yeah, so I'm watching the Chiefs last half of the game, and I'm seeing these phantom calls on Mahomes, right? And so I like to play around on the computer. So I put a tutu on Mahomes, a red tutu on Mahomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And put it on in my social media. And the only reaction I got was from 2 Bay Area friends who chastised me for feminizing an insult. Because they're both the I don't watch sports ball types.
Oh God!
And so they don't know that for 40 years people have been talking about putting tutus on quarterbacks. They don't know any of that, right? So I got chastised for being politically incorrect.
Oh,
and we haven't met, but
okay,
I'm left of left.
Okay,
like you. So like the sublation crowd. But yeah, the real thing is I wanted to say you're the first person who said out loud that hanging around with those Marxists is tedious. Yeah. What is your take on the 1838 disagreement in the coffee house between Marx and Engels? What do you really think about that?
I'll tell you this. So my neighbor most of the time is one of those people that does have a show that does talk about philosophy, because he literally went to school for a very difficult major, philosophy. He's a PhD in philosophy. My neighbor, Ben Burgess. We don't sit around and talk about philosophy. We may talk about politics a little bit, but we do it in a way that we're really glad there's no cameras or recording devices around us. And we usually talk about horror movies and action movies and bands. And that's usually what we do. We go out, we hang out actually quite a bit. We'll either watch movies like normal people, or we go out like normal people and do normal people shit. Like, we try to do as much normal people shit as possible. I have come across people, not so much at like live shows, because I think the vibe this show gives is like you can be normal and have fun here. But I have been around cats where it's like, you're kind of insufferable, dude. Right? And I'm like, do you want to grow your thing, or do you want your thing to be just you and people that you think are cool like you? And I've always felt that vibe in like heavy music. It's like the right people have to dig it for it to be okay. And if the wrong people dig it, then you're not true or a sellout or something else. So that mentality definitely lives in these political subcultures that just become branding, right? And I don't like it. Like I don't walk around and say, "Oh, I'm a Marxist," because then why would I do that? You don't want to hang out with that guy at a bar. So no one really knows, like around here, unless you like know me. No one knows what the fuck me and Ben talk about for a living. We go to the bar, we fucking hang out, we sing along to Iron Maiden songs, and then we go home like normal fucking people.
Yeah, I hang out with the sublation crowd a little bit because they're talking about, you know, forming a third party or organizing, you know,
Yeah.
workers. And I'm actually a worker, you know, so that's the other thing. I do work in higher education now a little bit online. And so, but the Marxists are more tedious than the PhDs. I mean, I thought the PhDs were bad, but then now hanging around with the Marxists is, you know, it's
right.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I worked in Santa Clara, California for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the first thing I find out when I start hanging around the Marxists is, oh, I'm a aristocrat of labor. Like, that's bad that I had a job in Santa Clara, California.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was good, you know. This is the only time I ever made a little bit of money. So, you know, but yeah, the conversation. So I work with higher ed, like I said, online education, and I've been playing around with AI. So I take some of these hour-long sublation shows, and I run them through the machine, you know, and I get the transcript, and some of them have like 40 book or author references.
Jesus.
Right? Like 40.
Jesus.
In an hour. Right? Like that's one every minute and a half. There's a reference to some French theorist from 1890, you know. And I'm just like, really, you want me to join you and you want me to bring people into this, you know, work. I'm like, I don't see how this is going to work. Yeah. I still hang out with them, you know, so I'm not, you know, upset with them, but it is.
That's interesting, Mark. No, that's interesting to me, Mark, because look, I know Doug personally. I will keep saying this till the wheels fall off. Doug is the reason why there's a soundboard here. Doug is the reason why you're probably watching this show, because Doug put me on when nobody was fucking with me. So I'll always have a certain appreciation. Sorry for all these sounds that are coming out of my phone for Doug Lane. I don't have to agree with everything he says, but I think he's trying to do something. But then I look at a guy that's been on this show like 3 or 4 times. He's an editor at Damage Magazine, Ben Fong. And when you look at the work Ben Fong is doing, and me and Derek were talking about this personally, Derek Varn. And Derek, first thing he says, I mentioned Ben's name. Derek goes, that guy does real legitimate work. He's like, that's one of the few cats that's actually really doing work. Ben's constantly talking about what would happen if we broke up this part of Amazon's chain of distribution. What would happen if this stopped for Walmart? How do we organize this group of people? Where is this located? How does it work? How do we fracture it so we can actually show that we have some real power? Those conversations get no views. None. Every time he's on the show, it's always about organizing labor. It's always about working class shit. No views. He's one of the most intelligent people I've ever been around. He's super kind. He speaks so clearly, right? He's not trying to hit you over the head with, like, as you said, a bunch of random fucking references to make you feel a little dumber. And nobody gives a shit. I scratch my head at that shit all the fucking time. Because if you do a show where you say, I don't really think people should give that much of a shit about thinking a podcaster is part of the revolution, right? All the comments are, you're not serious, change the name of your show, blah, 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 blah. You bring on someone that's actually talking about confronting power and bringing it to its knees through the people. Nobody watches it. It's just not drama filled. It's not pro wrestling enough. That's the shit that kills me, brother. Oh no.
Yeah, I hear you. I actually found you before I found Doug, and I agree with you. Doug seems like he's got his heart's in the right place. Yeah, see, there you go.
Yeah.
Ben Fong, yeah. And then it's the same thing too. It's like I watch a lot of YouTube. I'm trying to figure out, like I said, I'm old, and I'm trying to figure out. I got a few years left. What can I do something useful, And so I bumped into Doug, and he wants to help organize, some sort of party. And I think the time's right. The Bernie Bros, they got burned twice, and so they're ready to look around. And now I think that the MAGA people, they're going to get burned again. And in a couple of years, they're going to be looking around. And you add those two groups to the majority group of voters in the United States, which is people that don't fucking vote.
Mm-hmm.
And, their egg prices doubled, right? And their rent, some fund, the hedge fund is going to buy their house or buy houses in their neighborhood. And people are really going to be hurting it. And it seems to me like this is a good time to start organizing. But I am not going to take a position on the 1838 disagreement in the coffee house. I don't care. I just don't care.
Right. How are you going to do that and then try to go to these fucking distribution hubs and go, let's organize the people for a proletarian revolution? And it's like, okay, but you're not selling me anything that I want to buy, dude. You seem unapproachable and unlikable. Right?
Yeah.
So,
well, the conversation has turned, I got to say, a little bit into, since a lot of the people are in Oregon and other people are scattered all around the world, but there's a lot of rural people and they're like socialist gun clubs.
Sure.
Bowling leagues. And I'm like, yes, now you're talking. And I do digital storytelling shit. I grew up in LA. I checked out TV and movies back in the kill your television days.
Ah, yes.
So I could probably say I've never owned a television. So
Fair.
That's,
fair.
That's the thing. So, and I don't get all the movie references. I love you guys, but all these movie references, I'm just like, whatever. But my thing now is make your own media, right? So I teach people how to make digital stories, right? Make their own story. And now with these frickin' phones that we got, you got a whole fucking Hollywood production studio in your pocket.
Yes.
So my thing is, hey, go to the people at the library or at the art gallery or at the local museum and teach them how to make their own stories and sneak a little politics in. How are those egg prices?
Right. That's what this show was supposed to be. This show was always supposed to be a music show. It's still classified as a music show where you sneak some politics in. I have a friend, Dan Larson, who has a great pop culture show. And he sneaks politics in, I think, probably better than anyone that has a pop culture show of that magnitude, where he doesn't really sacrifice his fan base. You will say if this was a straight up pop culture show, the fan base would be long gone, because once you say one political thing, there's so many people that'll watch your stuff that may be Trump supporters. And that becomes a whole thing. So if you can make, like, first of all, and Daniel Besner was on the show not too long ago, and we talked about kind of the end of mass culture. certain phenomenon aren't going to happen. Like you're not going to get a Nirvana ever again, right? A band that kind of raw and dissonant that can grab the attention of everybody for a couple years. Like that is gone. So everything is just real small and atomized. And that's what makes me sad, because it's hard to get a lot of people into this left thing. And that's why Bernie was so magical for a lot of people in this arena of podcasting, because they had been longtime DSA people and were always the weirdos because they talked about socialism. And then Bernie finally made it okay. He got a lot of attention and then it was gone. And I feel like a lot of people know what to do with themselves right now. Like, where does that energy go?
Yeah, that's all my Bay Area friends. You know, they're all telling me, "Oh, Bernie's got a chance." And I grew up in a Republican town, right? So I've never been a Democrat, and I certainly have never been a Republican. So I was just like, you know, I was, for a year, I lived with a political science teacher, you know, and he was like doing the Bernie thing. I'm like, dude, you know better. You know better. You know how it's going to end. It's just going to be a sheepdog thing, right? He's like, no. And he's out there and his partner, and they're doing the thing, you know. And then wham, this is 2016, I guess. Yeah, 2016. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, you know, wham, they just cut Bernie off at the knees, and he just turned around and, you know, oh, well, I guess I am a Democrat. I'm like, see, I told you. So. And I think it's going to be the same thing, like I said, with the MAGA thing. You know, I don't know what to do about the Musk, you know, visual. I mean, that's certainly gone around the world. Oh, and I know there's a bunch of Trump people that are just going to go, I'm not down with that. I mean, you know, I like Trump being a freak, but
I agree with you, Mark. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think there's a lot of Trump people that are going to be turned off by the Nazi salute, but I'll add you this. Besner posted a Substack of this cat that is one of those theory people, but he seems to be somewhat approachable. And he basically is like, these right-wing people don't give a shit about history. And they're just going to throw around symbols like that because they just don't care. And it's almost like punk rock. So if you're from Southern California and you grew up in the early 80s, you know, a lot of hardcore bands had swastikas on their shit. It was subversive. It's transgressive. And it was more of a fuck the world thing than it was I'm a Nazi thing. There were definitely Nazis in there with some of those people, or aspiring Nazis. I wouldn't doubt if Elon Musk was a fucking Nazi, but the fact that he did that so flippantly really speaks to the way they just don't care. They just don't care about history. They make shit up all the time. They don't give a fuck about history. They're like, we're going to make some shit up. We're going to do a Zig Heil, and you guys can fight about it for the next hour and a half. And all it's going to do is help us out. So,
yeah. So I'm so old that here's one of my music claims to fame. I saw one of the first Dead Kennedy shows at the Starwood.
Damn, right? You said the Starwood first of all, so damn.
Well, I knew that was gold right there, and it was like a Tuesday night, and well, here's the whole story. I might as well start at the beginning. So I was working at the LAPD, which was the LA pipe distributor, because I was managing a head shop, and doing a little side work for the distributor. Yeah, who had the big mail truck, you know, and would distribute up and down Pacific Coast Highway. All kinds of shit he distributed. And he's like, you want these tickets? It was like a Tuesday. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I go to the Starwood, and it's Dead Kennedy. Well, I played music for a decade. Here's another story that I won't tell. Okay. My music teacher in Hollywood was one of the first women to break into big bands in the 20s.
Oh, damn.
And she and her partner introduced my parents. So, as I love to say, I'm a lesbian love child from Hollywood land.
Oh
But
wow. Okay, this story's
so
getting
I
better
go
and better.
to the show. Oh, I got stories. You're gonna hang up on me. I know at some point. So I go to the fucking Starwood, and there's this, and I'm at that point. That's wherever mid 70s. Um, I'm into getting out of my Grateful Dead phase, and I'm in my King Crimson phase probably, and Genesis. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway isn't out yet. And I sit there, and it's the fucking Dead Kennedys, like one of the first shows.
Mm.
I'm just like, what the fuck is this noise? And I got to say, I did not get it that night. I did not get it, but it got me interested, and I finally got into it a little bit. But the neo-Nazi thing, I did not do the Orange County band. In fact, I went to high school with Chaz Ramirez of Casbah Studios. I don't know if you were in LA that long ago, but Charlie Ramirez, Chaz, he changed his name to, produced some of those early Orange County bands at Casbah Studios. And Casbah Studios is still there, I hear. But I just couldn't do the neo-Nazi thing. Transgressive is one thing, but yeah, anyway.
No, I mean, look, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, to put a cherry on it, is so many decades later, I'm in Half Moon Bay, working in Surveillance Valley and living in Half Moon Bay. And my coffee guy, Steve, and I can't remember his last name, he was the first bass player for the Dead Kennedys, but he jumped out early on. So somehow, I'm with you, William Morris. I listen to 21st Century Schizoid Man all the time. That song has legs.
I haven't fallen. I go through music phases, and I'm going through a real fucked up phase where I just can't stop listening to Steely Dan. I'm just fucking. Yeah. I'm going full fucking hog on Steely Dan, like literally waking up in the morning. So I tried to switch it up. We did a show on grunge with Daniel Besner a couple weeks ago, and I made a playlist for that. And I listened to that the other day, which wasn't bad, but I threw in a lot of bands that I hated, and I remembered why I hated a lot of that music out of the 90s. So I just went back to the Steely Dan, dude. You can't go wrong with fucking, late 70s Steely Dan.
So there I was in Philadelphia, picked up the local free paper. I think it was a Monday night, again, early week. And it says, Elvis Costello is opening for Steely Dan. And I'm like, I don't give a shit about Steely Dan, but I really want to see Elvis Costello. So I take the ferry over to New Jersey, and people are like, dude, don't go over there. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm in LA, or Oakland, depending on the day. And I go over there, and Elvis comes out, he plays a 50-minute set. So I was kind of pissed. But he was the opening act. And then Steely Dan comes out, and I knew their songs, right? And so I really enjoyed the show, and I'm standing in line for the ferry. I'll never forget this. I'm standing in line for the ferry back across to Philadelphia, and the people in front of me are talking, and one of them says, "Yeah, I've never been a Steely Dan fan, but you know what? I knew every one of those songs." And I was like, Exactly.
Those they wrote these hits that if you like King Crimson and Genesis, and did you dig Yes, like early Yes too, right? That shit's like super progressive. When you listen to the solos and the arrangements on those Steely Dan records, especially something like Asia, which is like a 9-minute song with these 2 solos.
Yeah.
That ending drum solo on Asia is one of the heaviest moments of music that you will ever listen to. To me, the heaviest song in the world is Strange Fruit by Billie Holiday.
Yeah.
The chords are fucking dark and heavy. The tone in which she sings it in is heavy. It's like, God damn. Like heavy isn't always for me like distorted guitar and stuff like that. It's that drum solo at the end of Asia. It's just like, fuck. I was listening to it the other day. I was like, God damn, dude was just killing it. So I do love prog stuff too, because some of that shit's heavy as fuck. So shout out to 21st Century.
Yeah. I always appreciated, so as a non-Buddhist, if you want to get into some philosophy, which I don't, as a non-Buddhist, I always appreciated that Steely Dan made a pop song about the Bodhisattva.
Yeah.
And people tap their foot and sing along. I was just like, fuck me. The Buddha that will not transcend, right, will not become enlightened until every being becomes enlightened, right?
Mm-hmm.
A person who could go wherever, it's not heaven in Buddhism, but whatever, could transcend this world, but stays to help out other people. And they make a pop song about it, and people sing it and like it. I was just like, damn, I always thought that was amazing.
I love it, dude. I love Doobie Brothers, both eras. Fucking Hell's Angel Doobie Brothers and, smooth fucking R&B Doobie Brothers with Michael McDonald. I love it all.
Yeah, me too. I like you. I go through the phases, So I've done, the bluegrass phase and the punk rock phase, and whatever. Back to prog rock. Wasn't that long ago, 20 years ago. Emerson, Lake and Palmer played San Francisco. I don't remember where.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't a big place, the Warfield or something. And I went for one reason. I wanted, and Smoke on the Water, who did the Smoke on the Water song. They warmed up.
Deep Purple.
Deep Purple.
Ooh.
Yeah, Deep Purple.
Okay.
So Deep Purple first. And I was like, I got about 20 minutes into that. I was like, I got to go take a fucking walk. I just, that's one of those bands I just don't get. So literally, I went out in the lobby and walked around for a while. And I come back, but I went there for one reason. And this plays back to an earlier comment, is I wanted to see if they were going to play 21st Century Schizo Man, because Greg Lake wrote that, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And son of a bitch, if they didn't play 21st Century Schizo Man, just, about 20 years ago, probably now. And so I got a bunch of musical memories. I've been to some good shows, I got to say. But I think I'm going on too long here, Jason.
No, look, I love.
This has been great.
Hey, whenever the phone lines are open, please feel free to call and talk about sports or whatever. I love the phone call, and hopefully we can see you at a live thing. Me and Ben talked about doing some live things in LA sooner than later. So thank you for the call.
Oh, I'll look for you.
All right, brother.
Thank you, Jason.
Peace.
Peace.
That was fun. I don't listen to Tool. Riviera says, is that Riviera, the rapper woman? Because if it is, then I have a crush on you. No, I'm not. I've never got into Tool, and I don't hate Tool. I don't hate people that like Tool. I've just never really. I like that Maynard song with Chino, Passenger. That shit is fucking hard. But I never really got into it. I don't know why. Not really my bag. You would think all this fucking proggy shit I was just talking about a second ago. No, don't know why. Don't know why. But still, where's Dr. Claw? He was watching a fucking basketball game. He was cheating on us with the basketball game. No, it's Riviera, the Twitter person, New Metal Podcast. If you have a New Metal Podcast and you haven't had me on there, do you really have a New Metal Podcast? You got the twofer. Do I listen to Melt Banana? I can. I'm not opposed to it. It's some out there shit. Damn. Mark Wilson says he tried to like Tool but couldn't do it. I'm sorry. Well, have me on the podcast. Booking at thisisrevolutionpodcast.com. Send me an email. I would love to talk all things new metal, because I do find that genre interesting, because it's a moment where heavy music really takes down certain racial and gender barriers for a short time. And then it's like the racism couldn't be contained anymore. I remember before I started this show, when I was still like had aspirations of doing this, when we were like backstage or whatever, we'd be talking. I'd be like, "Do you think?" This is a real fucking question I would ask people. Like, I'd say, "Do you think that the initial backlash from nu metal was racist?" And as you can imagine, I'm always around white people. Most of them, if they were honest, would say yes. The best answer I ever got, and I'm so sad I lost all this stuff when Facebook killed my account. I was asking people through Facebook, is right, this is how musicians communicated. Kale, the guitar player from a band called Arm for Apocalypse. I think Kale was in Ghost Ride for a while. We got close because I lived anyway, it doesn't matter. But anyway, I was talking to Kale. I asked Kale that question and just immediately wrote me this long soliloquy of yes. And he was like, "Man, hell yeah." He was like, I hope Kale's watching right now. Because I'm so sad I lost that response because I was going to write something about that. He was like, "Dude, once that Van Halen, like that shit came on there and then people saw DJs, it was a wrap." They were so mad. They were so mad. And yes, they were very mad at how N-wordy they felt their music had gotten. So, yo, dude, I'd love to come on your show and talk about that. And if you've watched this show, then you know, like, my good friend Pasquale Romero was around for kind of I wouldn't say the early nu metal days, but like that, maybe, I don't want to say second wave, but maybe like after all the first wave of bands got signed, that's when he moved to LA and he joined some of those bands. Coach, look, you should call. Stop being a little punk because I'm gonna shut the phone lines down. Do you wish you no longer have a nu metal podcast? Do the commies have a chance against the Eagles? Who calls the Commanders the commies, and who gets mad about that? Because I think I saw Claw post something on social media today, and people were like mad about that, and I thought that was ridiculous. Of all things to be mad about. So I'm surprised Claw hasn't called. He must be worn out from his fucking Cavs game. I didn't even get predictions from Mac. Usually I ask Mac who he thinks is going to win, and he'll tell me. If you put a gun to my head, I'd be mad about that. But if you ask me who's going to win, I'll tell you who I'd like to see. I'd love to see the Bills win against the Chiefs. Don't know if it can happen. But if it's going to happen, this is the year. But again, when we talk about crazy shit that can happen this year, like maybe the Chiefs become the first team to ever three-peat. I didn't think Ohio State was going to win the national championship. They had lost some really big games. Losing to Michigan was like, really? And maybe that was the best thing for them. For all the calls the Chiefs get, and they get a lot of calls. Oh, Patrick Mahomes gets a lot of calls. I wouldn't be surprised if this was the game that he doesn't get as many. And people have to keep in mind that Mahomes is a flopper. And I don't think we've ever seen a quarterback flop like Mahomes because he is so mobile. And the thing about mobile quarterbacks was for years they had to have a bit of grit about them, right? There was an ex-quarterback that does like YouTube breakdowns, and I think he does like instructing of young up-and-coming quarterbacks. And he said something that I found interesting. He goes, We should kill the slide for quarterbacks in football and just make them runners. And if you want to surrender yourself like any runner, you can. They can't hit you once you've surrendered yourself, regardless if you're a quarterback or a runner. I was like, that's interesting, because there is no fake sideline move. Like college, you can't do that. You can't fake like you're going to the sideline and then like stay in bounds, which Patrick Mahomes does all the time. And he flops. He's a huge flopper. You touch him, and he's he's Dennis Rodman level with the flopping. So maybe they just don't call it in this game. Who knows? But for a long time, if you were a running quarterback, you had to take some hits. You dove head first. I know I got my Broncos stuff on, but John Elway in that first Super Bowl that the Broncos actually win against the Packers, when he runs to the goal line and dives head first and takes that hit and gets spun around in the air. That sideline lit the fuck up. They lit the fuck up. They're like, if he's going full hog at like 39, then fuck, dude. We got to do this. Mahomes doesn't necessarily do that. And I don't think that's a knock on him, his character, or his game. I think he's just that crafty of a player that he figured out, especially as he's gotten better over the years. Little things he can do to get an extra 15 yards. Again, they're not setting the world on fire statistically. Offensively, they're pretty middle of the pack. Defensively, they're pretty middle of the pack. They're not really doing anything great. But when you can constantly put yourself in scoring position just because you scamper for 6 yards and get a foul, get an extra 15 on the end of that, doesn't take much to get in the field goal range. And I think teams press when they play the Chiefs. Will Buffalo press if the Chiefs score first? Because they can. They can get big third downs with Travis Kelce. Mahomes can just break one on you for 15, 20 yards, if not more. You see it happen so much. You're like, man, they could just do anything. Yes and no. They were in a lot of close games this year. They got a lot of good calls this year. They had a lot of good luck. They should have lost that first game against the Broncos. I think Patrick Mahomes says something along those lines to Bo Nix at the end of that game. So if Buffalo is going to do something incredible and win a Super Bowl, at least get there, this is the year. The sad thing is, if they get there and lose again, oof. 5 losses? That's a lot. But if Buffalo was to get there, regardless of who they play, that's a nice story. I think the big loser, if Buffalo wins the Super Bowl, is Lamar Jackson. This who's the better quarterback, Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I get to watch two really amazing physical freaks excel at the quarterback position as they're hitting their physical primes. Their brains are understanding the game. It's slowing down for them. They're just going to get more exciting over time. I don't care who's better. It's just fun to watch. I was watching that game somewhere public. Someone was like, who you got? I was like, I'm just watching. This is fucking awesome. Like, you're watching something awesome. I don't have to have stakes for it to be awesome. I don't want that to be sports where you have to have a wager involved, a dog in the like just fucking it's dope. Joey says Lamar will have plenty more chances. You know what they said that about Dan Marino, and he didn't. The Broncos have 5 Super Bowl losses. They have 5 Super Bowl losses. Yes, they do. They also have 3 wins. The Bills have no wins. Big old 0. Joey Nichols says Lamar is easily the best overall quarterback. Maybe. Again, I'd take the Dan Marino argument. Dan Marino maybe was the greatest quarterback of all time. Why didn't he ever go back to a Super Bowl? Why did he never even sniff one ever again? I don't know. Can't answer that. But anyone watch UFC? I didn't watch the UFC. A lot of people were talking about it. Sometimes I get worried about watching UFC out here, especially because like a bunch of Mexicans watch fights and shit. They get all fired up. It's like that Eddie Murphy joke about Italians watching Rocky. Hey, yo, black guy. Pats versus Platts. Who you got? Can you imagine anyone in that group playing football? I just picture Spencer Leonard being really frustrated that no one can get him the ball when he's open. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I am so sad that. Oh, before I go, I was about to hang up the phone. There's one more phone call. And you know what? None of these phone calls are from fucking Claw. So Claw, I just want. Oh no! Okay, whew, I thought I dropped the call. This is what happens when Tucson's not here. Calling from a 405 area code caller. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Tony Red, Norman, Oklahoma.
Tone!
Yeah, man. I'm saving your ass calling.
Thank you.
I'm like, keep your flip phone.
I appreciate it. You know, again, you people think I joke about this cost by the second. It does. It does. So what are you calling to talk about the greatness of the Denver Broncos?
Yeah, only if it's the old Broncos because I'm a premature curmudgeon and, you know, the game's changed so much, man. Or we can talk about value theory like I pestered Ben and Toure about.
No.
But probably no.
No. You can talk to Ben and Toure about that. And
right.
Yeah. If you dare talk to me about that shit.
I figured.
I'll shoot you in the ass with a BB.
You were talking about Elway a little bit ago.
Yes.
I was watching The Drive again, replayed from I don't know, about a month ago.
Yes.
And just watch that, man. Watch The Drive again, and like every other hit would be a flag now.
If you watch, I've watched The Drive because it recently came up the anniversary of it, maybe like a couple weeks ago. So I watched it as an entirety. Yeah. It always takes me back to being 9 years old and watching it with my dad and him looking over at me constantly like, I don't know.
Right.
And that is, I said it before, that's the moment I became an Elway fan and then a Bronco fan. And I have so many other friends the same way from the Bay Area, the same way. They watched that game and it was like, this is my guy. He can do anything. And that's
no shit. It was The Drive that did it.
That's how I felt. It was The Drive for me. It was like, this guy can walk on water, man.
Wow. Yeah, man. I mean, that was amazing. It was a different game back then, too.
Yeah.
I grew up.
Yeah, because we're about the same age, right?
Yeah. Class of 95?
Yes!
Right on.
right.
Yeah, I'm a September baby, so I was one of the older ones because, mama's boy, so she kept me out a year. But so I was one of the older 95 kids.
Oh hell yeah! 30-year reunion. Does your school have a 30-year reunion?
I don't know. I'm sure they will, but I haven't checked. It's fucked up, man.
You're old. We're old.
I know. How'd that happen? It's a damn short movie.
I had to remind my daughter she was old. She was talking some crazy. She's 26, and she was saying some crazy shit. I was like, "You're almost 30." And she just looked at me like, "How dare you?" I was like, "Yes, you. You are old as hell." But yeah. So who do you have? Who do you have in the NFC Championship game? Do you think this is Jaden Daniels' year to be the first ever rookie to go to the Super Bowl?
I don't know, man. I mean, like I said, I don't pay attention now like I used to. Just anybody but the fucking Chiefs. Anybody who can beat the Chiefs.
I fucking hate the Chiefs.
Like the Patriot fans of old, man. All the old Patriot fans are now Chiefs fans. Terrible.
Ooh, there's nothing worse than a Patriot. And Mac is a Patriots fan. But he's a Patriots fan, He's a Patriots fan from a weird era. He got into them like right around the Scott Zolak, so right after Tony Eason. When they had Zolak then they lost I think they lost 15 games, and then they got Bledsoe. So he's from a weird era of Patriot fan, not to be from that area. Like if you're from the New England area and you're a Patriots fan, I get it. But when you're not, I'm like, why? And if you're our age, you know what I mean? If you're a young kid, of course I know why, because they were winning. But
right.
like Dallas fans. Boy? Say again?
Isn't he an Ohio boy?
Yes.
Okay, so see, Elway broke him as a Cleveland Browns fan. He broke him in the 80s. See, that's what's wrong with that Rummus.
I wish he was watching right now so he can hear you guys call him a Rummist. He loves that, by the way. He's a bit of a Browns fan as well. Actually, I haven't mailed it yet, but I got him a Browns shirt. A Browns shirt for all of you leftists that watch this. Jesus Christ.
Right on.
But he follows. I think the Browns just break your heart.
Yeah. I mean, you can't be mentally healthy and be a Browns fan,
right?
Or a Lions fan.
Or well, if you're a Lions fan, you're just kind of you're one of those people that wants to get his nuts stomped. Right? You're one of those cats like, oh, you're a Lions fan. So there's a person that comes and dresses up in weird latex and steps on your balls for like 150 an hour. Like, I get it.
Yeah, these days you're waiting for Snoopy the Elf.
Come and find me. Snippy right now is my favorite character that you guys have made part of the show, by the way.
Yeah, I'm making Snoopy the Elf jokes with my friends and my wife, and they just don't laugh as much. They don't get it.
You gotta show them the fucking movie, and then they get it. Just watch the movie. Hey, watch the movie with Linda Carter's in it. Who doesn't want to fucking stare at Linda Carter trying to solve a mystery for 90 minutes? There's worse shit you could do with your day. You gotta fucking spouse say, hey, spouse, you like movies I hate. How about you watch this one thing with me? We're probably gonna hate it together. This guy on the internet says it's some kind of weird fucking bonding exercise. And we can laugh about this weird serial killer played by a famous country singer that disguises his voice by talking like this.
Yeah, I pull that "Hey spouse, watch this shit" thing too often. I'll keep working on it.
He's I can't remember his name. He's a famous country singer. And yeah, he's just like, ha ha ha.
I'm working on it, man. She'll get the joke eventually.
Just you gotta just, is she adverse to ninja movies?
No, not like you culture nerds are for sure.
Oh,
But she likes them.
Oh, dude, start with ease her in with a ninja film. Is she around? Put her on the speaker.
No, she's asleep.
Damn it.
She hears me, I'm gonna get yelled at.
Damn it. You got to be like, look, honey, we're going to watch Ninja 3 The Domination, right? Which is insane. And then we're going to chase that with this movie called Hotline with Wonder Woman and this country star. I can't remember his name. And Wonder Woman's going to solve a crime in the most asinine way possible. And we're going to laugh all night long. Like, make a drinking game. I do all the goofy shit that adults are supposed to do.
I'm working on it. I watched you and Ben and Ture do Night of the Comet. I made her watch that. She dig that.
She did not dig it, or she did dig it?
She did dig it. She did not.
Fuck yes! Yes! That's what I'm talking about, Tony! Fuck!
Okay, man, you're spreading culture far and wide.
This makes me happy. When your wife awakes from her slumber, tell her that she is making the world a better place by embracing cinema classics like the 1984 horror film Night of the Comet. It's time for her to watch Ninja 3 The Domination, and then she can really go, holy shit, there's a whole world of what the fuck cinema out there for me. Yeah,
man.
Yeah, Tony's wife.
Spreading the good word.
Right? Hey, Tony's wife, we got all the shit you want in the film. There's so many weird fucking movies we watch. So many weird fucking movies. So I found out that the Andy Sidaris collection, and for those that don't know, Andy Sidaris made movies for 12-year-old boys in the 80s. Explosions, long butts, boobs, and ninjas. For no reason, ninjas.
What?
Imagine like American James Bond, and something bad happens, like his co-spy gets blown up, and then another spy who's a woman comes and is like, that sucks that Johnny got blown up. And they're on a beach because Johnny got blown up on a beach because it has to be convenient. And he goes, maybe we should fuck on this beach. And then bam, they fuck on the beach. Then the next scene, they like fight a ninja. Then they blow up a boat with a remote control boat. All kind of cool shit you wish you could do at 12.
Yeah, man.
In a movie.
Americana.
And they're all on YouTube. Savage Beach, Hard Ticket to Hawaii, Savage Beach 2, Guns, starring Eric Estrada, Razorblade Frisbees. Do you hear what I'm saying, Tony? Do you hear what I'm fucking saying, Tony?
Oh, man. Absolutely. You guys just do horror films, you and Ben and Ture, or do you do other shit? I saw you do Better Off Dead, which is one of my favorites.
That's my favorite movie. I had Diane Franklin on the show. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Motherfucker. I interviewed Diane Franklin.
I fucking am.
Do you know that I turned into 12-year-old me talking to like 60-year-old her?
It'd only be better if it was Winona Ryder, right?
She was like, I need to get you my friend Amanda Wyss, and Amanda Wyss was the girl Beth that dumps him, and she's also Tina from Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm like, if you got a fucking pipeline to all the crushes I've had in the 80s, ma'am, can you get Joyce Heiser on here from Just One of the Guys too, so we can fucking complete the circle?
Gen Xer nostalgia.
Dude, I'm all fucking about it. No, I'd rather talk about movies I dig, not just horror movies. But Ben actually watches movies that have like plots and shit like that.
Oh.
Where, yeah.
Well, I saw that you watched War Games for the first time ever. How the hell do you watch War Games for the first time ever? And you said you liked it.
Yeah, you know, in his defense, he went like a decade with no television. So there's a lot of stuff that he didn't see. In all fairness to him, and I will add this to when he is around, and we haven't done this in a while. He'll come over with the dog, and I'll be like, dude, let's just watch this fucking retarded, Death Wish 4.
Right.
We'll watch like Death Wish 4 and like, it's 1 a.m. and laugh our asses off. So would I like to do more, like in a perfect world when we get this studio, I want to do more, less 2-screen stuff, more stuff with another person in a room. Maybe even add some excerpts of these movies in there and talk about sometimes the cultural relevance of stuff like that, the significance of a Death Wish movie, especially in a moment like now where I do think the politics of those movies are very relevant, as everyone feels like they have to be their own little Charles Bronson, and also why these movies are problematic as much as I love them. I would love to have that conversation way more than talking about, the perils of another Trump administration or, economic foreign policy for an hour and a half. But, I can't.
Good old Reagan Cold War 2.0 stuff like Red Dawn or Final Countdown.
Ooh, I would talk about Red Dawn. I love Red Dawn. I memorized that movie.
I know we all did.
Purple Rain. We have to do a whole show on Purple Rain. Avenge me. Bill Cody, who was on the show last Saturday, worked on Red Dawn because he was an assistant to John Milius, the director.
Oh no shit!
Bill Cody's
what
got dude. Bill got crazy John Milius stories. He's got crazy Hollywood stories because he was in Hollywood for a long time. That's how he got famous. Bill made a documentary about the Athens music scene in 1987. So he knows REM and the B-52s and Pylon, all those bands. Yeah, those are like his homies. Bill is a fucking man, and he's got great stories.
Every Milius story's got to be like crazy fucking story. What I hear.
Yes. Everything you think about Milius, Cody backed up.
It's all true.
Yes. I don't remember if he was working with him when he did Conan, but he definitely was working for him when he did Red Dawn.
Wow.
True story.
Crazy. All right, what else you got, man?
When this show is over, I have to read this book for Saturday, which is making me very nervous. So I'm not going to watch.
The book is or the show?
The book is making me nervous. The guest is making me nervous. Not that they're a bad person. They're just really smart. And I was referred to them by Vincent Bevins. And anytime I get a referral from Bevins, they're always like, Touré's the same way. When you get a Touré referral, they're always like super duper fucking hyper intelligent. You definitely have to do some reading, take some notes, and all that good stuff.
Shouldn't be nervous, man. Your pals with Ben and Touré, so
yeah, but not everybody wants to hear dick jokes.
Right, that's true. You need the intellectuals that like the dick jokes. That's key.
And this is we haven't had a woman on the show in a while. We get a lot of flack. We get a lot of flack for some of the shit we say on the show. So yeah. It'll be a fun. I think it's going to be an interesting show. she went all kind of like Bevan. She went all over the world. And thanks for letting me fucking advertise this on the Wednesday show. She went all over the world and kind of looking at different systems, and kind of I think I have a model how we can make socialism work. There's a better world that we can live. So I think people are going to dig the show. So we'll see.
Right on. I might try to get up early enough to watch that one.
Please do. I the Saturday shows, I have to get up early for it, so you motherfuckers need to get up early for it. The book is called A Better World is Possible, I believe. I don't want to say it wrong and then have her watch this show and then send me a message like, hey, you said my book wrong, you piece of shit. But yeah, no, it should be a lot of fun. Other than that, what else are we got cooking? There's some music stuff I got cooking for hopefully next week that I can't talk about until it's finally booked. I'm pretty stoked. I've been trying to book this for a long time.
Did you finish crushing my grunge mythology that I love so much with that fucking paper or that dissertation writing?
No, I didn't finish that, but I did start a new one on the idea of what is selling out in this modern era, and that made me start writing another paper in a conversation that me, Teray, and Bert got into today via text over Snoop. Maybe you find this interesting. Last night we talked a little bit about Snoop Dogg, right? About how, Charlemagne the God said some stupid shit about, you're a hypocrite if you're shitting on Snoop Dogg. And I think Snoop Dogg's what no one's really talking about, because the conversation is like, is he a coon or is he not a coon? And I think it's less about cooning and more about a break with the black PMC liberal establishment, and also a mask off moment for these Gen X scholars that have been saying hip hop is the voice of the revolutionary and it's this continuation of Black Power and the Panthers. That was even projected onto Snoop Dogg. If you read like old Vibe articles and shit that people like Kevin, and now with Snoop Dogg, right? Now with Snoop Dogg being like, well, Trump is paying me and you fuck off. And we got nothing from Biden. We being black people. And you want to look at Snoop like, who is the we? I'm sure you got something from it.
Right.
But there is this very visual break, and Bert talked about it a little bit, where no one's really shitting on these people the way they did 8 years ago, mainly because the black PMC is really showing itself to not give a shit about the black poor and working class. It's just nothing they want to talk about. It doesn't really exist. It's all about stopping racist. Like I saw a video today where a homeless white man called a black guy the N-word, and you only see the video where it looks like they probably had some sort of altercation. And I don't think you know the Bay Area, and it was in a city called Walnut Creek. And Walnut Creek is a nice area in the eastern part of the Contra Costa County, which is the East Bay. It's financially a well-to-do area that does not have a large homeless population at all. But what surprised me was most of the comments were, why do you care? Because it's true. He's homeless. Like, that's offensive. Homeless people say crazy fucking shit all the time. Homeless people do crazy shit all the fucking time. All the time. So some shit like nigger, it's like, and the homeless guy goes, and I called you a nigger, not a nigga, because my friends are niggas, but you are a nigger. And he said it like that. And it was kind of funny because he wanted the guy to know the distinction.
Funny, but not ha funny.
He was like, oh, well, he really wanted you to know that you pissed him off to that level. But also, it's like, why are you sitting there having that level of an exchange with that man? He ain't right in the fucking head.
Right.
There were also comments that were like, why are you talking to a mentally ill person? It wasn't the conversation that I think that would have been had 8 years ago, where it would have been like, every day being a black man is a struggle when a dusty homeless white man who hasn't showered in a decade calls me a nigga. Like, you know, no one's doing that shit anymore. And the PMC,
Right. Maybe you're right.
they're still trying
The
to hold
PMC
on.
is being called out.
And I think the Snoop thing, I don't think Snoop is really like PMC into, like, he's not giving that much of a fuck about him. But I do think that it's a bit of a subconscious middle finger from him. I'm not going to speak on behalf of Nelly, because I think the Nelly thing is just desperation for attention. But Snoop does not need that desperation, because he's a cultural icon still into his 50s. And for him to break like that with that party, that I wouldn't say he was a Democrat for years, but he definitely was anti certain Republican policies. And so for this dude to jump ship so hard in such a short amount of time, it really speaks to kind of the ineffectiveness of the black political class as well.
Yeah, you might be right.
So I'm working on that. It's not going to be very long. I say that all the time. I just finished something that I don't know will come out. I haven't heard from Ben Fong, and I've been scared to check my emails. But I did write. I finally wrote my article on steroids and young people, which was a very sad thing to write, and it was depressing to write, and it ended as depressingly as it started, where basically my point was, I think you've seen the movie Videodrome?
Oh yeah, Cronenberg.
So I quote Videodrome kind of throughout the movie. I think I end the article with "Long live the new flesh," where I do think our online personas, especially with younger people, become the real life. And you're seeing this uptick in steroid use and Ozempic with young people, because it's just about online maintenance. There's so many behaviors that have changed because of constantly living in this weird surveillance state where you're treating yourself like you're a celebrity 24/7. And we also kind of live in a moment where we want what we want when we want it, because we want it now. And we can live this fountain of youth-ish way. Like, we're in our later 40s. We're in our middle age. Let's say middle age. And I know people, I'm sure you know people that are doing TRT, taking testosterone replacement. And they're like, dude, I feel great. And it's like, well, we're just supposed to get old, man. It's okay to get old. I'm not supposed to feel 25 when I'm fucking 47. I'm supposed to feel fucking 47.
No, man. Pumping the fountain of youth. That's the American way now. And I think you're right. You're starting to sell me on all this, approaching this from the cultural aspect of, this kayfabe kind of culture, and just bone fracture selling your brand. And that's what capitalism gives us now.
So cross your fingers that they put that out. And then this has been a fun call, because I feel like now everybody can know about what's really going on a main show too. I had a meeting with Means TV. They apologized for the delay in the rollout, and they said the reason why it took so long, I'm just too big. Just got too much. Just got too much for them. They can't handle it all. They said, we can't handle your load.
Wow.
They I believe the load of programming that we do. I couldn't wait to tell that joke, by the way. Thank you for letting me do that.
I figured.
The only time I'm ever going to be able to say that someone's like, dude, you're just too much.
I believe that. Dude.
So they said, because so many shows come out, and there's such a diversity of things that we talk about, the part of the agreement was they were going to take shows from me. Like, we don't even know what shows to take because they're so different and there's so much.
Yeah, man, you're too eclectic. You got to find a niche and brand yourself.
That,
and you'll be,
yeah.
depressed and bored and broke forever.
So they're going to release the video essays, and they're talking about, I don't even want to say the date because I don't want to jinx it, but kayfabe is done. It's just the end credits because we don't want to get the video pulled by YouTube. To give you an idea of how strict YouTube is, the director was trying to upload it and send it to me on a private link. YouTube banned a private link for copyright because there's so many wrestling clips. I played the episode without the title cards and the end credits in a champagne room New Year's Eve. So if you find the New Year's Eve champagne room, I play episode 1, but without the fancy shit that we have added to it. It's been done. It was just, do you credit every clip? Because there's probably in that 20-minute thing, no bullshit, probably like 200 clips.
Wow.
And every episode is we're trying to figure out ways to maybe cut back on some of these, but he found the archive. There was some good avenues we went down. The next few episodes, I hope we don't have to do as many, but that will see the light of day first for people that donated to the campaign. We're going to send them an MP4 of that first before it goes out, and then they're going to release all of our video essays at once. So that's going to be crazy. I think the biggest video essay I ever had, I did a Huey Newton thing based off something Cedric Johnson wrote 3 years ago, and that had like 20,000 views, which for this channel is a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that many. So to be able to get it to a place where I think they have about 1 million followers, so, and they're doing like a big campaign for it, and so that's kind of cool. So I mean, there's exciting things going on besides just me like running from windstorms and getting turned down by women left and right. Like there's other things. there's good. There's some mild good things happening in TIR land.
Right
on. But that's that. The writing stuff is what I'm really excited about. I hope the steroid piece sees the light of day. I hope I hope this Snoop thing gets done in the next week or so, because I'll put that up on the Crisis Paper side of things. I think people will dig it, and that's half of the shit that I'm doing outside of all the other booking show stuff.
Right on. I did see some pushback against Snoop online today. They were playing a clip of him in 2017 calling people out for performing for Trump. Did you see that?
Yes. Yeah, he called them jigaboos. The piece is called Jigaboo Town. Yeah. From the far side. It's he had a point. I mean, remember 8 years ago, Trump was supposed to be a fascist and he was going to lead us down this path of racism everywhere. And then we got a piece of it with Charlottesville. And it's almost like people forget about there was very good people on both sides. Afraid to tell this.
Now.
I think people even forget that Trump distanced himself from the January 6th people at one point in time, and now he's walking the door with some real dick out energy, as you young people say, and like with the pardons and stuff like that. And I don't know if everyone's viewing it the same way, Tony. How do you feel about that?
I don't know, man. I think we've been acclimated to this shit. This is kind of how it happens. And if the Democrats are the party of the status quo and everybody wants to blow up the status quo, well, then he's what's on offer,
That's the thing, man. It's like, I think people are you live in the two-party binary for most people, right? We have to be honest and say most people aren't watching shows like this. So most people don't really think about right? Like third, what do you mean there's a third party? They don't take those people seriously. And I get that. I get that. There isn't a mechanism that the Green Party has. They don't have a machine as serious as the Democratic Party. They don't have political power like the Democratic Party. So it's going to be hard for the average person to grasp, oh, maybe PSL is the way to go. Like I get that, right? So this break, I think you're seeing a lot of it is coming from older people. Snoop's older than both of us. I think he's might be Teray's age. And for him to be like, you know what, fuck y'all. Fuck y'all. This fool is doing something. Y'all don't really do shit.
Yeah.
They
and that's the thing.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. No, please preach.
That's the thing, is that we're seeing this globally. It's not just here. It's not just about Trump. It's not just about us. It's global. People are reacting against, I think, neoliberal capitalism, the frustrations and inequality, and they're just want to blow up the status quo, and they're throwing out the incumbents and just going with the firebombers. And the problem is, with no genuine class-based left anymore, the right gets all the energy, you know?
That's what Norm Finkelstein said the other day. I saw an interview of him talking about that. And he was like, fascism came out. There was always a strong left. He goes, there is no left right now. Not even like there's not a strong left. There's no left right now. So this is just right-wing fuckery. And people do want to blow everything up, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. It's either identity politics, more of the same neoliberalism, or that's it. And when people are hurting, frustrated, and angry, historically, you always see these streams grow. The difference is this time we don't even have a left to counter it.
When I think of the Democratic Party at this point, I think of two things. I think of Hillary Clinton with the hot sauce in her purse on the Breakfast Club. And I think of Kamala Harris chasing that ridiculousness with, I smoked pot in college and listened to Snoop Dogg. And she didn't even go to college during that time. So,
well,
go ahead.
She offered joy in an opportunity economy.
Like, I was cooler with that dumb shit, which is dumb shit, than, oh yeah, I smoked pot back in the day. It's like, dude, you never smoked pot back in the day. Whatever. Come on, Kamala Harris. Right. You're a snitch. You snitched on everybody. You probably told on people when you had sleepovers at your house. People like, don't sleep over at Kamala's house. She gonna tell on you.
Yeah, she was a narc, man.
Yeah, this fucking so I get the black a certain aspect of black entertainment. There is another aspect of black entertainment that is married to the Democratic Party because of kind of that racism they encounter in Hollywood, and they look at the Republicans as an extension, if not more, of that racism that they encounter in Hollywood. Whereas Snoop is like, I was never going to be in Hollywood anyway, so the fact that I get to sniff some Hollywood is whatever. But you were the same people that told me my music was evil. You crushed these records with C. Dolores Tucker in the 90s, and you guys can all get fucked. You're charging these kids for RICO charges because of songs, so you guys can all fuck right the hell off. But again, two things are happening for me. One is the break with the liberal PMC, the black liberal PMC, and number two, the mask off moment that hip hop has always been just a charade.
Right.
And that's okay.
Well,
like
you guys touched on it, I think, last night, that, I mean, Trump was always cool in some of these circles. I mean, back in the day, Trump, I mean, he makes money, man. Fuck. That's the thing.
Dude, Wu-Tang has several Donald Trump references. Donald Trump fucking hung hell tight with Russell Simmons. If Donald Trump had to choose between hanging with anyone from January 6th or a handful of rich Negroes And not just regular rich Negroes, but rich Negroes that they're going to do like weird drugs off the asses of, 20 to 35-year-old women. They're going to fucking bus loads like they just won a NASCAR race. He'll do that way before he wants to fucking sit down and share McDonald's with his fucking January 6th supporters. So,
Right. This
yeah, go ahead.
is part. Sorry.
No, you speak.
I mean, this is part of the thing that people don't understand. Like all of my academic, comfy left colleagues, for them, you can only possibly ever vote for Trump if you're a fascist or a sexist or a racist or all three. And they don't understand how many people I know who never voted for anybody because all politicians suck and are full of shit. And it's like he's the honest drifter, you know?
Yes.
He's the one that's going to blow it up. He's the one that's going to piss off the right people, as a friend of mine told me once.
When you've told
And
black...
Democrats don't.
Go ahead. Democrats don't what? No, you talk.
Democrats just don't seem to believe or understand that they're part of the problem with this. I mean, they are. It's the party of the status quo, man. This is not a status quo moment.
When you've told black people for decades that pimps and drug dealers have redeemable qualities and they speak some sort of inner city authentic black truth, why the fuck wouldn't you listen to a guy like Donald Trump? He is
right.
He legitimizes criminal behavior. So why wouldn't Snoop Dogg be like, you know what? Fuck it. I was rapping positively about this guy throughout the fucking 90s and 2000s. Fuck it. We didn't get the Klan didn't come down to South Central to start a riot. So fuck it.
Yeah. And then Democrats do as much as they can to help, like telling everybody that the economy is really fine. You're all delusional if you think times are tough.
Right. Motherfuckers were driving eggs over the border because eggs never really... My neighbor has chickens and I didn't think about this till like hella later. I could have just been smuggling eggs and selling them at the border and shit. Like, how much you need?
Right.
Oh, you making an omelet? I got you. Right.
Milk, brothers, and eggs, man.
Like, you're not going to prison for eggs. You're not going anywhere for eggs. The cops are going to laugh and then buy some off you. You're fine if you're selling, but that was how bad it got. Motherfuckers were like, there was a point where there was an LA Times article when gas prices were so high, people were driving down here to fill their tanks from Southern California. So to ignore those things, to act as if everything's fine, the Republicans did a great job of painting the world in this negative light. I saw a video someone took of San Francisco, of downtown, and it was clean. And they were like, it's never been like this. And I was like, dude, I was there not too long ago and it looked just like that. Go fuck yourself.
Right.
Their bullshit worked. They just make up shit about history. Nerds get there and they try to refute it. And they just keep going, growing their followers bigger and bigger. Elon Zig Heiland, just to fuck with people. I do think he might be a legitimate Nazi because that motherfucker is a little off and shitty. But
maybe he's just special.
He feels that way. Like, oh man, you got money too. That's fucked up. But like, everyone's like, oh my God, the Nazi reign is coming. It's like, is it? Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe for some people, maybe Coeur d'Alene, fucking Idaho, the guys are flying their flag with a little more bravado than they did before. But there's a lot of places in the US of A that have been historically uncomfortable for people of a darker hue.
Indeed.
You're in one of them. No, I'm just-
Yeah. Now this is Norman, man. This is the Austin of Oklahoma, or so I hear. So
I thought
yeah.
Tulsa was.
We have a couple black people. No, it's Norman and OU college town.
Norman's better than Tulsa in that regard?
I'd say so. Or that's what they tell me. I don't know.
I've never been to
I
Norman.
fucking hate it, but
I
don't recommend.
I've only been to parts of Oklahoma. Like I've been to Tulsa a bunch. I've been to Lawton.
Military town.
Is that what it is? Is a military town? I just been to some
It's close
places.
to like Alpha Therapy.
Oh, okay. I've just been to some places in Oklahoma. I'm like, oh, word. I don't think black people are supposed to be here.
We got like 3, 4.
The good ones, as they say.
Yeah. No, I remember Adolph Reed Jr. talking last year, and he said, "We know what the Democrats are going to run on, or what they're going to run against. They're going to run against Putin, Trump, and on Roe. And the question is, what are the Democrats going to run for?
Ooh.
And our job is to make them run for something, or all we can do is try to hold the fucking house, hold the building, but we can't even do that."
No. Student debt would have been huge for Joe Biden had he gone harder on student debt.
That would have been huge for me, man.
They did relieve some student debt from some of the schools that were like the kind of fraudulent schools. But if they would have went full hog on student debt and made that a platform, they would have grown the base of voters that didn't show up in 2024.
Do you think so? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have helped me, right? Because I was stupid enough to think that a college degree in grad school would just kick it out of the working class. That's how dumb I am. But a lot of my friends who didn't go to college, working class, are like, fuck those college boys, and I get that sentiment.
Yeah.
It's just, some of us, we're trying to climb out too, and, yeah, it's crazy.
That was the line that we were told. If you went to school, you were going to be a credit to your race or your community or your family, right? And some people were able to succeed. Some people couldn't do it. And some people just worked jobs and have their homeowners and everything worked out for them without that. But for the people kind of, if you think about the country like this, when I say the whole thing about a sea of voters that didn't show up, like a third of the country they're checked out. They don't give a fuck about Trump.
Yeah, most are working class.
Yeah. And they're just checked out, all together checked out. If you think about them, in that population is going to be the student loan people who are like, I'm just trying to work so I can move up through whatever job I have and get to the point where I don't owe this absorbent amount of money to get a master's degree in public health, to be a mid-level person at a drug production company, right? Or if I work in public health, there's no money in the public sector. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. You're absolutely right. I mean, rich kids don't need bailed out of their fucking loans. They don't need that. They don't go into debt. It's, working class people. I want to go back to every parent, teacher, counselor, advisor who ever told me that, oh, you don't have to stay working class and poor. Just get a college degree. There are loans and all kinds of stuff, and punch every one of them in the throat. Now. like, yeah, that was a lie.
Imagine if Biden goes, or his administration goes, well, a third of the population isn't showing up to vote, and this much of the population is mired in student debt. So why don't we just fucking do this? They've been talking about this. There's these massive campaigns to do it. Why don't we do that? We can stay neutral in all the other bullshit. We got Roe in our back pocket. We got all this other bullshit in our back pocket. That'd have been huge. But nobody cares about people that don't show up to vote. That's politics.
Right. And that's been the thing for decades. Most of the people who don't show up to vote are mostly working class because they know, like, lots of my colleagues and friends and family knew that politicians are full of shit. They don't care about us.
Everyone knows that, right? And nobody cares. And that's then you become Mexico, where nobody cares. No, everybody's corrupt.
Yeah.
So even when good things happen, you're so disconnected from it that you don't know how to celebrate the economic victories, the progress your country is making, because when you're so far down, what does improvement look like? Like I ask
Blowing up
myself,
status quo.
and what does that look like for some people? So for some people, it's going to be a burgeoning middle class, right? So because take where I live, for example, there's tons of expats that have moved over here in the last 20 years. Younger boomer retirees, older Gen X retirees have moved down to this area. It has caused a construction boom that's going to benefit some people, and all the services that come with older people moving down here. Old folks' homes are down here now, or senior living, whatever you want to call it. There's tons of nurses. There's like schools for women to be nurses. They're not going to make a lot of money, but because you have so many elderly people coming down here, you have so many people coming down here to recover from cosmetic surgeries. Now there's jobs for you. There's jobs are in abundance for you. Do you see that as your government making certain concessions and deals? There's like a healthcare now for workers. There's a pension for older people that AMLO started. There's positives, but there's roads that weren't here 8 years ago. Right? All this shit is important.
Backlash to that?
To a certain extent, because people go like this. They go, well, why? Because there's no Uber in this city. Because the mayor goes, we don't want Uber here. We have our own taxi service within the city, and that's just what people are going to use. It's cheaper than an Uber. For me to get from downtown Rosarito to downtown Tijuana cost me 22 pesos. That's about $1.
I don't know what that means.
It's about $1. It's about $1, and that ride is about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. It's kind of far.
Wow.
Costs $1. And Uber costs 240 to 350 pesos, depending on the time of day. Yeah. I'm going to take the city run bus before I want to take an Uber. It's just cheaper. I have more stops, but oh well.
Socialized transportation versus fractured capitalism.
Yes. And there's a lot of Americans that want to come down, because you can also come down here and do what the fuck you want to do, and it's not necessarily a good thing all the time.
Right.
So people see that U.S. capital coming in. Like, if you said, I always wanted a coffee shop, and you come down here and you go, damn, man, I feel like I could open a coffee shop up, and you start finding out how much it costs to open a coffee shop up down here, and you're like, I can open a coffee shop for what it would cost for me for my car payment. Okay, I'll open a coffee shop here. But the downside is there's like 47 artisanal coffee shops that I hit from my door to downtown Rosarito, and they all don't last that long because there's just so many. Sometimes there's 2 fucking artisanal coffee shops in the same fucking building, and you're like, how did the landlord let that happen? They just don't care. there is a side of this that's libertarian California. So there are people that want more capital. They think the answer is just more capitalism. Fuck the regulations. We just want more capitalism. These Americans are coming down here and go ahead.
Are you seeing backlash from Mexicans against you rich gringos coming down there?
Fuck yeah. We make everything expensive. Yeah. If you left California because the rent was too high and you set foot in this country, you cross an imaginary line and you see a nice looking what do you call those things? Loft apartment on the other side of the border for $500 with a security gate and a garage, brand new appliances. Who are they going to rent to? The person that's from here that's struggling because minimum wage is like $13 a day, some goofy shit like that. Or like I think it's $180 a week is minimum wage, and hella people make minimum wage here. Right. So who would you rather have renting that building? Johnny, the douchebag that works at the fucking outlet mall on the other side of the imaginary line, where there's literally a tunnel that takes you right to the outlet mall when you cross the border. Or, you know, fucking Sarah and her 15 kids and nieces and everybody else who really needs the space. So
right. There's those gringo hipsters that'll create a MAGA movement in Mexico.
There is one. This is a true story. My good friend pays $400 a month for her 2-bedroom. It's by the beach. You could walk to the beach. It's 2 blocks from her house. Can't see it. You can walk there. It's an older building. It's not in the best shape. And there's Mexican problems you have. Like, she doesn't have hot water in her kitchen sink. Her stove does, or her oven doesn't work, but her stove does. Dumb shit, right? Mexico problems. Right. Her rent went up $200 in the last year with no improvements. Dude was just like, well, Americans want it. Americans don't want it. Americans want where I live because I have a view of the ocean. I live off a dirt road. I got a secure gate and I don't live by nobody. She lives like right by downtown. Her landlord came up to her last month and said, I need you out. I'm fixing up all the apartments. And to do the work, you have to leave. And then you're not going to be able to afford the rent when I do the improvements. She was like, where the fuck am I going to go? She went to prison for a long time and she's lived here. This is the longest she's lived free, is in that apartment. And she works 7 days a week. The work week here is 6 days. She works 6 days a week at her job. And then on Sunday, she sells at a flea market. And she told her landlord, well, what if I just give you an extra $75 a month? Landlord goes, I'll take it, but I'm not doing shit to your place. Whatever's broken stays broken. And she's afraid to say if anything else breaks. And he told her to her face, Americans will pay more. So you have Americans like me live near the water and everybody else lives inland. And inland is very different. There's no police presence inland. That's where the crime is. It's even worse as far as infrastructure, the further inland you go, but it's really cheap. And I'd be terrified if Americans found there was I was at the mall in TJ and some white hipsters were there. They might have been nice people. I shouldn't be shitting on them. And there's a thrift store. There's hella thrift stores, like the nice ones, Tony, like the kind you see on Melrose, but they're affordable. And these motherfuckers were looking at shit. And I was joking with the girls at the coffee shop. I was like, fuck, man, if the gringo hipsters find out about these prices, they're going to tell their friends and then the prices are going to double. And then the girls jokingly got mad because that's what they're used to. Stuff was affordable.
Right, man.
Then the gringos come and it's not afford. We can't afford it anymore.
DMC so-called lefties from fucking America messing everything up.
Messing everything up, dude. You got to keep your mouth shut and complain about the prices like everybody else. Like, fuck, man, you guys, this shit is too expensive. But this isn't Mexico City. Mexico City is a little different. They're fighting the gentrifying class there, whereas here, I think people see it as, well, maybe I can be part of this weird, almost comprador class of people that work for the these gentrifiers that come in. We can be contractors that build these houses. We can sell them cars. We can maintain their property, watch their kids. We can drive more buses now because we got more people. They opened another grocery store since I've been here. That's going to employ probably another 100 or so people. So they're looking at it from that standpoint, going, there's pros and there's cons, but there's definitely a lot of cons because also people come down here and they're rude as shit, Tony. I've never been around racist people that wanted to move to Mexico until I lived in Mexico. I was like, why would you want to move here if you hate Mexicans so much?
The ugly Americans coming.
Oh, dude. Oh. You'd be shocked at some of the shit you hear people say.
Okay. All right. Well, next time we talk about value, and you're right, Marino and Elway were the two greatest quarterbacks ever, man.
There you go. Thank you very much.
All right.
Go to sleep. It's late where you are.
Yeah. Take care, man.
Thank you, Tony. That was the Tony Red. Sorry that I bitched that much about living out here. I wasn't reading the comments. But there's a few things that make me really sad because I've gotten to know so many people that work in the service industry. And there is a difference between the service industry in the US and look, a service industry job sucks. Like, let's just be honest. You work in the service industry, you're going to deal with like the worst aspects of humanity. I get that. But there is a difference here. And people can be real fucking belittling in this way where you're just like, oh, you're just fucking so offensive. So I get the backlash to gringos, and you know, I wish you guys would have saw my face when I saw those fucking. I was like, don't go to the thrift store, no, because then you can't get that shit for like a couple bucks. That's the Freedom Empire, Jason, completing the revolution of 1776. Yeah. People don't. That U.S. passport, like I said on the show the other night in the champagne room, my mild inconvenience pales in comparison to people I know that will never go back to where they're from. The thing that kept them going in prison was the idea that they were going to go home. They served their time. Isn't that the whole thing about prison time? You do the crime, you do the time. We're not talking about people that got out early for good behavior. I'm talking about people that served their time. But there's the double punishment, the forever punishment of banishment. That shit's rough, man. It's bad enough for me because I can't afford to get up north. The only thing that's stopping me is economic precarity. And that's only temporary. For them, it's the fucking law. And for those that have snuck over, then you're stuck. You're stuck. I want to see the world and travel. This is what's here on the dating shows all the time. I like traveling. You don't like traveling? You get to look over your shoulder for the rest of your life. You're home, but you have to live in another prison. The prison of fear. Shit's fucked up. It's not going to get better. Not going to get better. I don't know how bad this Trump shit's going to get, because I think he's really feeling himself, if you will. There was massive backlash to kids in cages. I don't think that'll happen again, but what can this motherfucker do this time around? It's just going to be more cruel. I don't know. But I do know that there's some good football games coming up this weekend. Let me know in the comments who you guys have. Thank you for those calls, Tony and Mark. That was a lot of fun. And hopefully Mac will be back. Poor guy is going through it. Just know the poor guy is going through it. His computer broke. He got like snowed in one day and his internet was down and his power was out. So Dr. Claus says, you know who I'm going for this weekend. I would know if you called in, but you didn't because you're an N-word. Hard R! I'll be back tomorrow night speaking with Eric Drucker about his book, The Naked City, which I read today. It's a graphic novel. It's kind of awesome. It's about artists trying to make it in the city. I think you guys are going to dig it. You're going to dig this discussion. The city meaning New York for him. For me, the city is San Francisco. But anytime talking about trying to make it, authenticity, what is selling out, all that shit. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's about a colony of nudists. No, but there's Nikicity. I almost said Nikicity. There's naked people in it. There is naked people in it. Like I said, it's an interesting book. It follows 3 different artists: a painter, a dancer, and a singer. But it's and they're all at different. Is it porn? It's not porn. I haven't booked a porn person yet, but please don't count it out. It was published in the Mars Review. Oh, I looked at the most popular videos of the month, and Gooning is still on there. People are still watching the goddamn Gooning video. Gooning! And on that note, thank you guys. I'll see you tomorrow night, and I am